And second, thank you so much to our team students from PCC Forensics for helping put together this event and the questions. Thank you to our candidates for being here tonight, for being a part of this event. And also thank you to our moderator as well, James Farr, for helping put together this event. We are also incredibly honored to have some people here in this room tonight, including Board of Trustees Steve Gibson, as well as, and this is a fun one, because she is actually the mother of one of our students here at PCC on our team, April Verlato-Mayer. So again, thank you all for coming together to make this event happen. Honestly, when it comes to political advocacy, that pathway is often diminished for students, and being able to open that pathway is so important for their ability to understand, be included, be represented, and also honestly network. We have so many students on our team on forensics as well as in the pre-law club that really want to get into this field, but however, never really have the access for it. So having an event like this on campus really does allow them to directly meet the people that represent them, that advocate for them. At least on our team, we always talk about advocacy, being a voice for yourself, being a voice of those who are voiceless. And things like political advocacy and in general civic engagement is the perfect place to do that, which is why so many of our students here have that passion. And so I really, really am just extremely fortunate and thankful that we were able to get tonight to happen. As an educator, there's nothing more powerful and proud than seeing your students excited for an event. So I really want to thank everyone for making tonight happen again. Round of applause for everybody. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to the PCC President of Pre-Law Club, Alexander Ballantyne.
Hello everybody, it's great to be here tonight. My name is Alexander Ballantyne. I'm a second-year student here at PCC studying public policy and business. In the Pre-Law Club, we hope to give students a better perspective of their future legal careers through in-depth experiences like visiting courthouses and mock law school applications. And we hope to provide meaningful presentations from professionals within the legal field.
All right, now we're going to have our Director of Individual Events from the Forensics team to talk a little bit about forensics. Welcome her up.
Hello, like mentioned, I am Serena, one of the director for the forensics team. The Pasadena City College forensics team is a nationally ranked speech, debate, and theater team. Our program offers students the opportunity to grow and develop research, writing, communication, argumentation, and performance skills. PCC Forensics has experienced decades of success at the local, state, and national levels with both individual student awards and team sweepstakes awards. But in addition to our competitive success, PCC Forensics places a really strong emphasis on advocacy. Our students, which you can see behind you, understand that their voices serve as catalysts for social change. Our hope is that our students develop a commitment to raising awareness and instigating positive change in our communities. So as a result, a lot of our alumni have ventured into diverse fields, establishing careers as lawyers, educators, professionals, and more. Their journeys really serve as a testament to the importance of what public speaking can do within college and beyond. So if there are any students out here who are interested in joining the PCC Forensics team, please come find me or Jacqueline after the event. In the spirit of fostering meaningful dialogue, PCC Forensics is so honored to host this forum where voices are not only heard, but cherished as vehicles for change. So thank you so much to the candidates for being here today and for taking the time to inspire our students. Thank you.
And now let's get into a super exciting part of tonight's event, introducing our candidates. So first off, we're going to have one of our returning student members on the forensics team. She's a wonderful human. She loves advocacy. She's a bubbly, warm spirit on our team, and we are so thankful to have her here. Let's give a warm welcome to Laura Ortiz.
So our first candidate for California Assembly District 41 is John Harabidian. John Harabidian is a California State Commission president, attorney, father, and former city council member and mayor. John was born and raised in Sierra Madre in the heart of the 41st State Assembly District. He was elected to the Sierra Madre City Council in 2012, re-elected in 2016, and twice served as mayor. John led efforts in Sierra Madre and the region to protect the environment, conserve natural resources, reduce homelessness, and improve municipal services. He spearheaded a grounding solar energy project that now serves Sierra Madre residents and served as a founding board member of the Clean Power Alliance. Professionally, John has worked as a prosecutor at the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office and as an attorney at Latham and Watkins, Stanford Immigrants' Rights Clinic, and the Equality Pro Bono Project. As a CORO fellow, John worked with AFSCME District Council 36 and as a policy analyst for Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa's office. He currently serves as a regional vice chair of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, as president of the California Department of Consumer Affairs Acupuncture Board, and as a board member of the Immigration Resource Center of San Gabriel Valley. The Los Angeles County Democratic Party recognized John as Assembly District 41's Democrat of the Year in 2020. A proud graduate of Loyola High School, John earned his bachelor's degree at Yale University, master's degree in comparative social policy from Oxford University, and law degree from Stanford University. John lives in Pasadena with his wife Youngie and their 3 children. Though unfortunately, due to a conflict, he could not be here tonight, but let's still give a warm round of applause for candidate John Harabidian. And our next introduction will come from fellow forensics member Andrew Seymour.
Our next candidate is Jed Leano, an immigration attorney, council member, and former mayor of Claremont. A first-generation American and son of Filipino immigrants, Jed was born and raised in Anaheim, California. His father served on a U.S. naval ship during the Cuban Missile Crisis and ultimately became an electrical engineer, and his mother worked as a hospital nurse. In 2008, Jed started his own law practice in Pasadena as an immigration attorney, where he has successfully tried and won deportation cases on behalf of refugees seeking protection from torture and persecution in their home countries. In 2009, Jed served as president of the Pasadena JCs, a young professional service organization. From 2011 to 2012, Jed served on the Tournament of Roses on the post-parade committee. In 2018, Jed was elected to the Claremont City Council. Jed has served in leadership positions including chair of the San Gabriel Valley Regional Housing Trust, chair of Tri-City Mental Health, the San Gabriel Valley representative to the Los Angeles County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency, and board member of the Immigration Resource Center in San Gabriel Valley. In recognition of his leadership, Jed earned the LA County Democrat of the Year Award for the 41st Assembly District, the 27th Congressional District Building Bridges Leadership Award, and the Joseph M. Leon's Memorial Award for Leadership on Homelessness and Housing Advocacy. In 2020, Jed Leano was re-elected to a second term on the City Council. Jed continues to practice immigration law in Pasadena and has lived in the San Gabriel Valley for over 13 years. Jed lives in Claremont with his wife, Liz, and their 8-year-old son, Wells. A round of applause for 41st California Assembly District candidate, the Honorable Jed Leano. And I'd like to invite up Kat Juarez to introduce our next candidate.
Our next candidate is Dr. Falente Riddle, who has spent nearly 30 years serving Pasadena with the Pasadena Police Department, moving through ranks as patrol officer, detective, and community liaison. She became the first African-American female sergeant, lieutenant, and then sworn adjutant to the chief of police in the history of the Pasadena Police Department. In 2019, she was appointed as Board of Juvenile Hearings Commissioner with California's Division of Juvenile Justice, continuing her public safety service. She conducts hearings with youth offenders to help them gain access to educational and job training opportunities and trauma-informed mental health treatment to reduce their risks of reoffending. She served the Foothill communities as Assembly member on Chris Holden's district director. She helped him expand the College and Career Access Pathways program that provides high school students with the opportunity to take college and vocational training courses. Together, she and Assemblymember Holden pursued solutions that work for expanding the Gold Line, mental health services, public safety, and cleaner energy. In addition to her lifelong work as a public safety officer, Falente was an adjunct professor teaching criminal justice at several universities. Falente received her doctorate degree, specializing in psychology, from Phillips Graduate Institute. She holds an MA degree in organizational leadership from Woodbury University and a Bachelor's of Science in Public Administration from the University of LeBron. She's also a graduate of California Command College and the FBI National Academy. Falente has been married for over 40 years to her husband Edgar, and together they have 3 married sons and 6 amazing grandchildren. Dr. Falente Riddle has spent her career addressing community safety issues and advocating for those in need. Let's give a warm of applause to our final candidate for the 41st Assembly District, Dr. Falente Riddle.
All right, thank you again so much to our 3 students for those wonderful introductions. We are now going to move on to the actual candidate forum. So first off, we are going to have somebody down here named Darren, our wonderful team member, who will be giving time signals to our candidates. But before we begin, we're going to introduce our moderator for tonight, journalist James Farr.
All right,
and good evening, everyone. How are you? Oh, come on. We need a little bit more energy than that. Good evening. Again, my name is James Farr, and I am a journalist, and I am the host of the award-winning Conversation Live. Back in 2020, I, along with the Pasadena Star News and the Pasadena Community Coalition, moderated the great debate, mayoral debate between Mayor Victor Gordo and former Mayor Terry Tornick. So thank you so much for being here, candidates. Trustee Gibson, thank you so much for being here. I'd also, first, before we bring the candidates up and to begin with their opening statements, I would like to acknowledge Professor Yu and the entire forensics debate team and Pre-Law Society for facilitating this event. And really what we wanted to do today was make this a real-world exercise with real-world outcomes. So we intentionally wanted to bring candidates here to the campus, bring the students to the candidates. The students curated and authored these questions. I did not write them. I don't have my thumbs or fingers on any of them, okay? And then I would also, before I get into the rules for tonight, I would like to acknowledge Attorney Alan Romero, who's sitting there in the audience. Alan would love to meet with some of you pre-law students and talk about careers in law, right? And thank you, Alan, for your support of the live stream tonight as well. Thank you very much. Can we give Alan a round of applause? Alan? All righty, well, with that said, let's get to it. Let's welcome our candidates up. First, the Honorable Jed Liano and Dr. Falente Riddle. please. Welcome, thank you. And just to discuss the rules tonight so everyone understands, the candidates have not seen the questions. They do not know what has been prepared for them to answer tonight. There's a total of 10 questions. There will be timed responses varying anywhere from 2 minutes to 1 minute depending upon the question. Candidates, there's a timekeeper down in the center of the audience that will let you know as we're running. Can you guys see the timekeeper, Jet? Okay. And so they will let you know as your time is winding down. With that said, candidates, any questions for me before we get started? Nope. All right. We will go ahead and start with opening statements. We will start in alphabetical order and then reverse the order. Because we only have 2, that should be pretty easy for me to keep track of.
I think you can handle that.
All right. So we'll start with Councilmember Liano. Opening statement, 2.5 minutes, sir.
2.5 minutes. Good evening, everybody. How are we feeling tonight? Good. All right. Thank you for having us. I want to thank PCC. I want to thank the speech and debate program, forensics team. Dr. Riddle, thank you for being here. And all of you tonight for joining us. James Farr, thank you for moderating. It's a real pleasure to have this opportunity to share with you our campaign for the Assembly and our vision for California. Let me tell you who I am and why I'm running. I'm a first-generation Filipino-American, immigration lawyer and son of immigrants. My dad was on a Navy ship during the Cuban Missile Crisis. My mom worked nights at a VA hospital, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and rushed home just to get me and my sisters to school before 8 o'clock. I know firsthand the immense sacrifice that immigrant parents make to give their kids a shot at America. And because of that, the only way that I could pay that forward is for the last 17 years, I've used my training as a lawyer to represent the most marginalized and disenfranchised people in our society, and that's immigrants facing deportation. That's been the work of my lifetime as an attorney, and that's who I am, and that's how I fed my family. 5 years ago, I felt a calling to public service, and it wasn't because I wanted to cut ribbons. It wasn't because I wanted to rename sidewalks. It was because of homelessness. I ran on the issue. I looked our community in the eye and said that we need to build more affordable housing. We need a better service delivery system to confront the issue. I made it the calling card of my first year in office, and by my second year in office, we had reduced homelessness by 41%. I am proud of the track record of delivering real solutions on some of the most complicated and difficult challenges facing our community and our state. And I am ready to deliver that message and that track record of success here in the 41st Assembly District. I want to thank you for the chance to talk about this. I hope you get something out of this very plain and very clear. I'm not asking you to vote for me. I'm asking you to join a movement. We need a movement to house all Californians, and it's only going to get done but with political courage. And that has been the calling card of my time in office, and I need you to join me to help get it done. So thank you all very much for having me.
All right, and that's time. Dr. Riddle, 2.5 minutes opening statement.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Falante Riddle, and I grew up right here in Altadena. My father's from Jamaica, and my mother, and when they separated, she raised us in Altadena, and she worked 2 jobs. We had a lot of home housing insecurities. I moved 4 times before I was in the 10th grade, literally. I graduated from John Muir High School, but before that, my 10th grade counselor shared with me that I wasn't going to college because my mother was on government assistance. And so instead of taking Algebra 2, he steered me, that's the word I know now, to home ec. But as I graduated from John Muir, I came right here to Pasadena City College. I am a Pasadena City College graduate. It only took me 4.5 years, but that doesn't matter. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. But I did. I was married. I had a couple of kids at that time, and then I decided, you know what? I wanted to become a police officer. I wanted to serve my community in that capacity. What I didn't know is that I shouldn't have been there. What I didn't know is that they didn't want me there. What I didn't know is that I would be considered and treated like an affirmative action hire. And during that time, even as I traveled through and improved myself over and over again, I worked diligently. I learned everything I could. I was the first, as they said in my bio, the first African-American woman to be promoted to the rank of sergeant, lieutenant, chief's adjutant, and even up in the helicopter as an observer. And yet, I never was given the respect because they were not willing to accept me. But I was a change agent, and every position I left, I ensured a woman was in that position. As I went, as they said before, I was a YWCA executive director interim. I also worked as Mr. Holden's district director to learn how to do this job. I literally spent time up and down the 210 freeway of the San Gabriel Valley and learned every aspect of it. So I am here to ensure, as an assembly member, I fight for to put people that are homeless in housing with wraparound services, pre-K education with mental health, to ensure that the regional centers assist our children before they get into school. We have the environment, and we also must ensure that public safety treats everyone with respect and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Also want to acknowledge Mr. Martin Gordon, the chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition, who I saw in here somewhere.
He's right.
There you go, Martin. There, wave your hand, Martin. Thank you, sir. All right. I think we're ready to get after it. Are you guys ready for these candidates to answer some questions? We need energy. Okay. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So first up, we're going to invite Eddie Hugh. I believe I'm saying that correctly, right? Eddie Hugh will come up with the first question, and candidates, you will have 90 seconds to respond. All right, Eddie?
How do you plan to engage with and be inclusive in our community's diverse perspectives and needs?
We'll start with Mr. Leon. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't want to jump you.
You're good. Thank you very much for the question, and that's an excellent point that I really want to highlight something I'm really proud of in my time in public office, and that is simply this. A good friend of mine, Rex Richardson, the mayor of Long Beach, once said, when government decisions are made and people are left out and excluded from that decision, that's by design. That means that the system is working, because systems were built to exclude certain people. And the number one aim and goal that we can have in public service is to break down those systems that are built to exclude people. Let me tell you what I have done to make sure that we break down those systems. Number one, when there was a major spike in anti-Asian hate crimes in 2021, I really felt like it's not enough to just make speeches and say stop Asian hate. We had to actually do something actionable to affect that change. And so one of the things that we did at Tri-City Mental Health, I'm the board chair there, is we actually impaneled an API mental health commission so that we could actually find out what are the cultural barriers to accessing mental health services by public agencies. We also created an African American mental health commission, an LGBTQ plus mental health commission. We created a working group for every single BIPOC community to make sure that we were assessing and understanding what is the best way to reach people where they are. So how do you break down barriers and make sure that you include people? You gotta first understand how and why are they excluded, and then work to fix that. Thank you very much.
Dr. Riddle, 90 seconds.
Thank you. You know, this has been a lifelong journey for me in this particular area of inclusion. I just shared my own personal story of being excluded. And so, you know, when I was with the police department early on, when I was working in the backgrounds, I made sure that I reached out to communities that were not represented in the police department, in particular more women, African American, and AAPI community, because in the 90s, that was not part of what the police department looked like in Pasadena. As I moved forward, working, you know, in the various entities that I did, I brought people into the workspace that I was to ensure that they also had opportunity. When I was the district director for the 3 years with Mr. Holden's office, I hired everyone, a rainbow of people. So I hired an Armenian American, an Asian American. I hired literally African American, and I made sure that we had a Spanish speaking American, also a Latino on the team, because it was important that the district that we represented felt as though they were included and that there were people there that could assist them when they needed it. So this has been something that I'm committed to. As I look at my team, you know, that I have now for this candidacy, I am literally, you're looking at the high school, you know, Democrats, give you a little shout out right here. They're part of my team. And I make sure that we always
All right,
scan
Dr. Riddle, that
and
is
ensure
time.
that people are included.
That is time. Thank you, Dr. Riddle. And as we are welcoming up Sebastian for our next question, also would like to thank our production team from Indolon in the back who are live streaming tonight's live stream. So thank you guys for your great work here in the community and being here with us today. Sebastian will come up with the next question, and candidates, you will have 2.5 minutes to respond, and we'll start with Dr. Riddle.
Pasadena, more so than the rest of LA County, is facing a major housing affordability crisis. How would you address the situation if elected?
Thank you. You know, part of this housing epidemic that we're having is by design. I've lived in Pasadena the majority of my life since I graduated from high school and moved into Pasadena. And I've seen over the years, my own family, we have a clan, a very large family. My grandson, who's 6 years old, is 4th generation, and they can't afford to live here anymore. And so, you know, the housing situation that we're in now is because most cities decided that they would not build affordable units, not single families homes, but affordable units, and to make sure that they stabilize rents, because there was a decision made, literally, that that was not something that we needed to do here. And so consequently, we're in a crisis now. And so when the RENA numbers came out, even before the numbers came out on how many housing units, Pasadena, and since this is the question that you asked about this community, has 9,000 units that it must build or is supposed to build before, with over the time span. And in that, I sat on the Mayor's Housing Task Force to ensure that people that look like this room here and look like me were included. And that way that we can do housing, not just moderate housing, income housing, but low and very low income housing throughout this community. And it will be along the goal line areas, around transit areas. We're going to modify, which we've already done, zoning, so that they can modify where some of the housing can go, and then also mixed use. We're putting in ADUs. We're also ensuring that some of the church lots are being utilized for housing units. Workforce housing is a critical portion of this. So some of the school districts, which the state has no leverage over, no control over, but some of the school districts are looking at how do they utilize some of those empty school lots. So this is a major issue that it's going to take a collective a number of people to put through, but I'm very proud to say, since your question was directed toward Pasadena, that it is in progress. We have a major uplift to do, heavy lift to do, but everyone's in it. My sister is Section 8, and she just could not find housing in this city in 6 months. And she was homeless. She lived with us, her and her family.
That's time, Dr.
So thank
Riddle.
you.
All right. Councilmember Liano, 90 seconds.
Thank you very. I thought it was 2.5.
I'm sorry, 2 minutes.
There you go.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much for the question. This is not only the most important question tonight, it's the most important issue facing this district and the state of California. And if you want to meaningfully address this problem, we need leadership that can confront and accept some very basic fundamental premises. So what are they? Let's start with the basic fact. What we are doing is not working. And why is it not working? It's not working because we are not building enough housing to keep up with the demands of the modern workforce. And why are we not building enough housing? Because there is a lack of political courage to do so. Because there is a lack of political courage. Let me tell you what I have done to try to confront that and try to change that. In the city of Claremont, when I ran for office in 2018 the first time, I often talked about homelessness. And to me, talking about homelessness meant talking about visible street homeless. People that you see with your own eyes on a daily basis. But after I became elected, I began to finally understand and realize that homelessness and housing were one problem in the same. So if we are going to meaningfully impact the California housing crisis, we need set metrics. We need to double housing production in the state of California. Right now, we need about 180,000 housing units per year just to keep pace with population growth and economic growth. And right now, we average barely 100,000 units a year. So why is that? Why is that? I can tell you right now, it is because of a lack of political courage to make the decisions necessary to double housing production. I am proud of the fact that in Claremont, I spearheaded the Village South Specific Plan and its increasing in density for the largest mixed-use residential development in our city's history, right next to transit. I spearheaded the production, funding, and approval of our first very low-income and extremely low-income affordable housing developments in our city's history, and our first affordable housing in over a decade. You don't do that without making some enemies. But I would rather have enemies and fought for the right thing and make sure that we deliver on the promise of housing all people in my community and all people in the state of California. I'm running for this office because all of you on the Pre-Law Society, I want you to be lawyers here in California.
Council member, that's time. Thank you. And as we get ready to move into our third question and welcome Daniel Candia up to the stand, boy, y'all look so good sitting out there. Thank you for being here on a Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock, right? It really shows that you are civically engaged. I want to ask questions, but I'm not allowed to. So we'll go ahead and welcome Daniel up, and he will start with Dr. Riddle for the next question, and you will have we'll start with Councilmember Liano, and he will have 90 seconds to answer Daniel's question. Daniel.
Given recent controversy that we've seen around the California Environmental Protection Act, how do you think the Assembly should manage and regulate Caltrans?
Thank you very much for the question. Very plainly, if we are going to get serious about our climate goals, if we are going to get serious about a sustainable future here in California, the number one thing that we have to do, frankly, is we have to reduce vehicle miles traveled. And we have to envision a future in California that is not built around driving your cars to do things like go to work, go to school, and pick up milk or eggs at the grocery store. I'm really proud of the fact that in Claremont, we not only adopted a complete streets policy, we have protected bike lanes going from the east side to the west side of our borders. I believe we should be building 20-minute cities where anywhere within your community you can walk, bike, or use public transit without getting in a vehicle to access basic amenities in your community. And if we are going to get serious about our climate goals, we have to build housing closer to transportation, closer to jobs, closer to education, and closer to amenities. And so how should we be managing Caltrans? Frankly, we need to be envisioning a future and envisioning future infrastructure that doesn't involve every single person in this room using 4 tires and a steering wheel. There has to be a future with public transportation. There has to be a future with 20-minute cities. There has to be a future with complete streets where if you live less than half a mile from your kid's school, you can walk your kids to school on a safe sidewalk and a safe crosswalk. That's my vision. That's what I've tried to implement in the city of Claremont.
That's time,
and I hope to share that with you.
Thank you. Dr. Riddle, 90 seconds.
This is an area that I worked on almost exclusively for a year with the Goal Line when I was a district director for with Assemblymember Holden. I believe that, first of all, we have to collectively recognize that we have a climate emergency. And it is not 10 years down the road, it's here today. And the only way that we are going to reduce our use of fossil fuels is to increase the use of a safe and reliable Goal Line, A line, J line, whatever you choose to call it, but we're going to have to expand that. And I'm happy to know, or to share with you, that it is being expanded. We just received $800,000 and literally to put in additional rail system, but also over the span from, it's already been accepted from Burbank Airport to Ontario Airport. Now we just have to get the federal government to loosen up their purse strings. You know what kind of trouble they're in. But that has already been on the table. I know for a fact that we are in a situation now, and Jed spoke to it, is that when we place housing around mass transportation, people will move from their vehicles if it's safe and reliable, and they will take that transportation. Some people won't be able to take it. For me personally, I had 3 kids and 3 schools to drop off before a 7:30 started work. But
Riddle,
everyone's
that's
not
time.
in that situation.
Thank you. Dr. Riddle, thank you. Moving on to question number 4, Alyssa Guzman, and we will start with Dr. Riddle. Dr. Riddle, you will have 2 minutes to respond.
Mm-hmm.
How will you effectively facilitate economic development in minority and other disadvantaged communities?
This is an area that's been concerning to me for quite a while, and I say that because I always see the disparity. I grew up literally in an Altadena community that you have 2 grocery stores, one on Lake and one on Lincoln, for anyone that knows Altadena, that you don't have a lot of shopping to go to unless you went south of Woodbury. But you should not be in a situation where you can only obtain groceries in your neighborhood or get any things that you need based on your zip code. And that happens way too many times. I look at disparity in food, we call it food deserts, and it's alarming. Right now, in the city of Pasadena, in the Northwest, there's literally 2 grocery stores. And so why is it that in 91107, there's 4 grocery stores within a 2-block area? So you have to work and use incentives to have business people come into the neighborhoods, share with them how they can make a profit, because it's all about making a profit with businesses, and encourage those types of retailers to come into your community, and again, ensure that they feel safe and that people will use those facilities, because if not, they will go away. We're seeing businesses, if you look at throughout the state, you know, in Oakland and San Francisco, leaving those communities because they don't feel safe. We have to work to ensure that, again, we don't want to overemphasize putting, you know, people in custody, but we can't have lawlessness. And so there's a way to hold people accountable when they do things that are illegal and then get them the rehabilitation that they need. They go hand in hand. If you think businesses are leaving communities because they don't want to make money, that's not the truth. They're leaving because they don't feel safe and they don't feel like they can make a profit in those communities.
That's time, Dr. Riddle.
Oh, sorry, I missed him.
Thank you, Dr. Mm-hmm. Councilmember Liano, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I want to just begin answering this question by telling you that in my day job as an immigration lawyer, I think that people have a perception that most of the time I'm in federal court, I'm in front of a judge, I'm across from a prosecutor, and I'm litigating a deportation matter, and we're at trial. The reality is that a very large portion of my time and of my day is spent with amazing entrepreneurs who came here for the American dream, and they are enterprising in a way that I could never even have imagined. And I spend a lot of time with them, not because they need my help developing ideas. I spend a lot of time with them because preparing paperwork to start a business, preparing paperwork with financial institutions is really remarkably complicated when you are worried about your immigration status. And so I just know firsthand that this problem, it sounds like a chessboard of how do we invest money here? How do we move resources there? Let's go a little more insular for 1 second here, and let's consider the fact that the engine that can drive the next wave of economic growth is most likely and often the case among our amazing new immigrant arrivals who are ready to start the next great thing here in California. And we need to make an economy that's more prosperous, but also more inclusive, more accessible to people who don't speak English as a first language, more accessible to people who are worried about whether or not Immigration Customs Enforcement are going to get a hold of their franchise tax board records. We have to be thinking about these problems, but we never do. Why is that? Simply put, because we believe that immigration status is an immigration question. All questions are immigration questions, and that includes business and economic development. Thank you.
That's time, Mr. Leano. And we are moving on to question number 5, and we have Henry Menendez. And candidates, you will have 2.5 minutes to answer, and we will start with Council Member Leano.
All right, Henry.
How would you enhance the community college system in order to ensure high-quality education is accessible for all students?
That's an excellent question. I want to first of all recognize and thank Trustee Gibson, who's here tonight. Proud to have your support and your endorsement. Thank you very much. I want to just tell you that if we want to make sure that community college success is a likelihood for all students, we have to get a couple of critical things down. And the number one thing that we can do to ensure basic success in the classroom is to make sure that every single community college student has fundamental housing stability. The possibility of you actually succeeding academically diminishes substantially, absolutely substantially, the moment that you begin to worry whether you're going to have next month's rent paid. We also have to recognize the economic reality of community college population, which is simply that this is a working student population. And so we have to recognize the fact that everyone needs to have a basic living working wage in order to be able to afford rent. And if you can't afford that rent, the possibility of academic success goes down. If we want to really ensure excellent institutions, it starts with teacher pay. It starts with faculty pay. Number one, we have to treat faculty and professional educators as the professionals that they are, number one. And number two, every single campus here in California, you deserve the safety of education. I am really proud of the fact that I am endorsed by Safer California, the number one leading gun violence prevention organization in California. And if we're going to offer you and tell our students that California community colleges are safe and a place to thrive, we have to do that meaningfully considering and impacting what is the result of students of gun violence, and are we addressing gun violence prevention enough? And finally, I just want to add, we had a mental health crisis before COVID. As board chair at Tri-City Mental Health, I am well aware of the fact that our mental health services delivery system was in trouble before the pandemic. Since the pandemic, people are leaving. And they're not just leaving agencies, they're leaving the field. And that's making it harder for community college students to access mental health care. If we want to make sure that every California community college student is thriving, we have to make sure that they have a safe campus. We have to make sure that they're housed. We also have to make sure that they have adequate access to public mental health care. And in order to get there, we have to invest in the next generation of mental health professionals. I look forward to doing that in the Assembly. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Leano, it's time. Dr. Riddle, 2.5 minutes.
Thank you. This is an area that I'm very proud of. When I was with Assemblymember Holden's office, I personally worked on the dual enrollment to help high schools as well as the junior colleges to recognize the value of allowing high school students to take college courses, junior college courses while they were attending, and helped negotiate with the faculty and the union at the various junior colleges, Glendale, Pasadena, PCC, as well as Citrus College, to ensure that they understood and were comfortable with allowing their teachers, their faculty, to work with students to obtain credits before they transfer. That not only allows that student to ensure that they have college credits that they can transfer, but it also lowers the costs. And that's a critical portion. Like myself, when I came to PCC, I won't tell you it's like this much, but it wasn't very expensive. But my point is that we have to ensure that people are able to access these programs, and they help you to make that transition. We also need to ensure that when I was working with Assemblymember Holden's office, that students do have the resources. Housing is critical, but housing that they can afford. So we have now developed tiny units. I don't know if any of you have been 300 square feet up to 400 square feet in this community, very close, within a mile of PCC, that students are able to rent while they go to school. One of the things I think is critical is that when you have access to transportation, which is your transit systems and your GO lines in this particular community, you have access to housing that's affordable, and you can get that early education while you're in high school to transfer. That will give you the resources and give you the confidence to be able to attend your junior college, and you don't have to spend 4.5 years. You can get it done in 2 and transfer to a university if that's your choice. My daughter-in-law graduated from PCC as a nurse, and it was very tough because she was working full-time, but she was able to do it because she had services that would allow her to participate and graduate and then move on into a nursing profession.
That's time, Dr. Riddle. Thank you. Council member?
You already answered.
Oh, Lord.
It's late. It's late.
We're not giving him an extra try, right? So we're gonna move on. We're halfway through our program at this point, and I think it's gonna get a little bit more interesting going
That
forward.
wasn't interesting?
Oh, it's all been interesting, but I said a little bit more interesting, right? First of all, let's send a shout out to our timer who is keeping us on time. Wave your hand in the front there. These students worked hard, diligently on producing tonight's event, and everyone's contribution has been very valued and appreciated. As we move on to question number 6 from Sophia Fienza, candidates, you will have 2 minutes each to answer the question, and we'll start with Dr. Riddle.
Mental illness diagnoses are at an all-time high. Do you plan to implement a mental health initiative in your district, and how?
As it was already stated by the council member, mental health we're at a crisis here. And yes, it was exaggerated, but in the sense of when we were home during the 3 years of COVID, it was exasperated. And I say that because everyone is dealing with mental health. I'm watching as we move forward with young people going to high school. They're struggling. My youngest son is a mental health specialist at a high school now, because every school is realizing that their students coming back are struggling. And so how do we address it? First of all, we have to take it out of the shadows. In every profession, we have to take it out of the shadows. In every, home, we have to bring it out of the shadows. I'm not saying this to shock you, but last week we had 4 deputies that committed, Los Angeles County deputies that committed suicide. 2 that were retired and 2 that were still on duty. And that's a crisis that's been in the shadows too long. And so one of the areas that I am very, very, as a doctor of psychology, I will share with you right now, that most people won't seek help. I had to seek help personally when, after my mom passed of cancer, I had some illnesses myself. My son was going to the Marines. I had been shot at. There had been a lot going on over my 20 plus years, and I finally said, I need help. Most people won't do that. So once you identify it and you know your family is struggling, don't make excuses. There's all these resources, and I know that when I was working again as the district director, we laid out lines of communication. We made sure that people knew that they could call a crisis center, and I'd like to expand that on the school campuses from middle school through college, as well as in the workforce, because it's critical that when you see your family members struggling, that they access those services.
That's time, Dr. Riddle. Thank you. Mr. Liano.
I said before, I'll say it again, we were at a mental health tipping point before the pandemic started, and it only got worse. And I know this from a very unique vantage point. I'm the board chair at Tri-City Mental Health. That's the public mental health agency for Pomona, Laverne, and Claremont. Every month I get a report of how many people we hired, but I also get a report of how many people are leaving. And right now we spend, I wish this were a joke, we spend $3 per day per person in Los Angeles County on public mental health. $3. And so let me just tell you what I think we need to be doing to change that. Number one, I'm really proud of the fact that in Claremont, we instituted the PAC program, Psychiatric Assessment Care Team. What is that? Well, if someone is experiencing a behavioral health crisis, and oftentimes that involves a co-occurring issue with housing instability or poverty, we don't send law enforcement. We send a team of psychiatric professionals who are stationed out of our police department. We funded the program in 2020. When the program got more expensive, we re-upped funding in 2021, and we need to expand that program right now even more because it is a blueprint for what is possible when you treat mental health for what it is, a medical healthcare problem. Also, I just want to tell you that we can't say that we're going to expand mental health care without understanding why people don't access it. And everyone says we need to reduce stigma. Why don't we reduce stigma? Because we don't enact meaningfully, culturally competent public mental health care. Culturally competent. For every single person that has a mental health issue, and over half of people with the diagnosis go untreated, they come from a cultural background that maybe a therapist or counselor doesn't understand. So why aren't they accessing it? A lot of the answers and solutions are in their background. So we need culturally competent mental health care throughout the state. Thank you.
All righty, we are now moving on to number 7, and we have Umar Salim. And candidates, you will have 2 minutes to respond, and we will start with Mr. Liano. Umar?
What is your assessment of the current criminal justice system, and how would you reform it if changes are necessary?
Thank you very much. Please, give it to him. I think that the criminal justice system, obviously, we learned in the summer of 2020 that it is an uneven system. We live in a system in which there are way too many killings of citizens by police. And disproportionately, that is impacting young men of color. And why is that? I wish I had the answers, but I can tell you what I can do. I am ready and willing to shine a light to try to understand why that is, to make the investigation and understanding of the problem as transparent as possible. In the city of Claremont in 2020, we asked ourselves, what can we be doing better after the George Floyd incident? And we gave a real meaningful self-evaluation of our school resource officer program. We took a real hard look at what our hiring practices were, and we actually implemented meaningful common sense reforms on whom we hired. We basically put in very common sense policy to try to make sure that we didn't have those issues in our community. And we did all of that through a citizen-led police commission, a group of citizens that were not employees of the police department who were able to ask these very difficult questions. And so what is the state of the system? The state of the system is that it needs improvement. It is unacceptable when people feel that they don't have equal access to justice. And we will never meaningfully answer that question unless we're willing to shine a light on the problem and try to find better solutions.
Dr. Riddle?
As a retired police officer, I can share with you that this is one of the major topics on why police and people that don't follow a lawful order collide. And since George Floyd, there has been over 140 bills, literally, that have gone to the governor's office on police reform. There have been some very meaningful bills, but this is where I live. And so I will share with you right now that one of the areas that is going to change is I am going to be a bridge between law enforcement and legislators to make sure that they're at the table to say something other than no. Most chiefs, because it all starts with leadership, have to understand, and most of them do now, that it's unacceptable for them to hire and retain people who don't respect citizens. And so those individuals whom I have had to discipline, some of them, and recommend termination, because everyone does not belong in this profession. As an adjunct professor, I taught bias-based policing. I taught racial justice. I taught looking at cultural differences and where you come from and how you see the world. So I understand that everyone does not belong in this profession, but for those that do, it's an honorable profession, and I'm glad that I had served. I will also tell you that those individuals who are in the leadership positions want to see meaningful change. They want this to come to where people can respect, and I congratulate Mayor Karen Bass because she took the bold step to work with the Los Angeles Police Protective League and and have the City Council approve $1 billion to recruit, train, and to get the right officers for the citizens of LA. And I'm going to follow that lead.
Thank you. We are coming down to the final two questions, and we're going to pick up the pace a little bit, all right? We've heard from our candidates, but we're going to speed it up just a little bit. With question number 8, it's going to be Henson Nguyen, and Henson will ask the question, and candidates, you have 1 minute to respond, okay? All right, Henson?
Am I going first?
Yes.
Considering the unsustainable nature of the water supply in Southern California, what measures will you take to alleviate this environmental issue?
You know, I make a kind of like a little joke of this, saying, you know, I've been on a lot of diets, but I've never been without water, and so everybody needs water. With that being said, one of the areas that I'm working on right now with Cynthia Kurtz, who was a former city manager in Pasadena, but she's on the Metropolitan Water Board, is to determine how to ensure that Southern California has the amount of water that we need, because at this particular point, Northern California grows our food, but the distribution of water is not even. And so we need to bring subject matter experts to assist us in ensuring that we have the appropriate water supply and that we capture rainwater. You know, the first time I went and saw gray water and brown water at the water treatment plants, they were handing out cups, and I thought, I don't think so. But, but with that being said, it does work for our plants, our food, and so we must do something stronger than what we're doing today.
That's time, Dr. Riddle. Councilmember Liano, 1 minute.
Without question, the most sustainable thing that you can do to continue your community's growth, but also be mindful of water, is to promote more dense multifamily housing. If 3 people each grow a lawn that is 6,000 square feet and water it every day, we are absolutely in trouble. We have to envision a future in which we use per household less water. And unquestionably, we have made serious strides, but real, meaningful, thoughtful consideration of how to build more sustainable communities has to not only think about increasing the supply of water, but also reducing the demand for it. One of the #1 ways we can do that is being smarter with our housing policy, allowing for more infill, residential, multifamily housing so that each household uses less water per household per person. That's all.
Thank you. And our 9th question of the evening will come from McKenna Walker, and we will start with Councilmember Liano, and you, again, will have 1 minute to respond.
What would you do to increase diversity in arts and culture, especially for communities that don't often have their voices heard?
One of the things that I want to make sure, if I'm a member of the Assembly, is that every single community has equal access to the same educational opportunities. I don't believe that educational opportunities, cultural enrichment, should depend on where you live. And what's one way that we can help bridge that gap and get there to where it's more accessible and more inclusive for people of all communities and all backgrounds? Well, the #1 thing is that we have to be willing to fund culturally rich educational and entertainment opportunities. Culturally rich. I think that in education, we tend to think of entertainment opportunities as binary, as either mainstream or ethnic. Why do we divide our subject matter content that way? I think we have to stop doing that, #1. I think we should think of all of our educational opportunities as enriching, whether or not they are perceived by one community or another. I think that's absolutely critical.
That's time, sir.
The easy and toughest question it is invest in our schools. For those in here that are baby boomers, we all know we had arts and crafts and, home ec. We had everything in our schools. And the first things to get cut were those types of programs. My husband did wood shop, and he went right into Lockheed Aircraft right out of high school because he had a skill. We've taken away all those things now. We need to reinvest in our schools, starting with preschool, early childhood education. We need to ensure that we have nurses and libraries back open. This is not something that's foreign to us. We have to ensure that, as Jed just said, that you're not educated based on your zip code. I look at this district is very diverse. And I've gone to most of the schools in this district. And I will share with you right now, it's appalling that this city of Pasadena does not have a better school system.
That's time, Dr. Riddle. We can all breathe. And now for our 10th and final question for the evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank our candidates as well. We're going to call up Alexander Valentine, and he will ask that's not your last name, is it? Valentine, I'm sorry. I'm reading it. Okay. Candidates, you will have 1 minute to respond to this 10th and final question, and we will start with Dr. Riddle.
So what has inspired you both to run for public office, and if elected, what do you hope to achieve?
What inspired me is you, quite frankly, service. And I will share with you early childhood education, starting with preschool, regional centers. The earlier a child can access any type of skills that they need before they get into kindergarten, the better, because we know by 3rd grade if they can't read and comprehend that there's a jail waiting for them, and that's unacceptable. That's a lose for everyone. That's a Stanford study that's already been done. Want to ensure that we have safe and reliable transportation throughout this district, but throughout this state, because that's the only way we're going to really reduce our environmental, impact by moving people out of cars. Looking at homelessness and wraparound service and transitional housing and the mental health services. Psychosis does not happen between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. I was a graveyard officer. Trust and believe, I know. We have to have people on site and to ensure we have housing affordable.
That's time, Dr.
Thank you.
Riddle. Mr. Liano, 1 minute.
Thank you for the question. What inspired me to run for office? Let me just tell you straight. When I was 9 years old, I was born in America. And when I was 9 years old, my mother and father took me and my sisters to the Philippines for the first time. The most formative experience of my childhood was leaving the airport in Manila with my mom and my dad in a taxi and seeing for the first time the poverty of the third world. That was a moment I'll never forget in my life. And that moment drove every other decision and experience that I made as an adult. In 2018, my son was 4 years old. We drove to Staples Center to see a Laker game. And when we got off the exit in downtown, my son asked me, "Who are those people living in those tents?" And that was when I knew I was going to run for Claremont City Council. And so that's why I'm running for office. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. We are now moving into closing statements from each of our candidates, and we will start with Mr. Liano. Mr. Liano, you have 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Wow.
I want to start by thanking Mr. Farr, Dr. Riddle, everyone at PCC who's helped support to make this event outstanding, and to all of you, the students. I am really passionate about what I do. And the reason is that I've only ever done anything because I really, really believed in it. When I was 19 years old, I was just like you. I used to wear a suit, I used to stand in front of the mirror, and I used to pretend that I was F. Lee Bailey cross-examining Mark Furman on the witness stand during the O.J. Simpson trial. I wanted to be you. And I dedicated my life as a public servant to representing the poorest of the poor, the most disenfranchised people in our communities. I have made a lifetime as a lawyer and a public official fighting like hell for people that don't have anyone else to fight for them. And because of that, I am really proud of the track record that I can offer to you and present to you tonight as a candidate for the State Assembly. I am really proud of the fact that there are 2 buildings of affordable housing that are going up in the city of Claremont because I fought for funding, I fought for approval, I pushed back against the political opposition to make sure that those happened. I am proud of the fact that we reduced homelessness by 41% by my 2nd year in office. I am proud of the fact that we reduced our climate footprint by over 50% by going 100% renewable energy for 97% of our residential households. I am proud of the fact that we expanded mental health care, including for people who are unhoused and who have no place to sleep tonight. And I want to be an assembly member not because I want to be in the assembly. I want to win this race because I want to house all Californians, and I can't get there without you. I am really proud of the fact that every time I have ever run for office, 2018 City Council and 2022, I had college students running my campaigns. And they didn't run with me because they liked my Jordans or because they thought I had an awesome haircut. They ran with me because they believed in my message of lifting people up. So I need you. I need you to join Safer California, who's endorsed me. I need you to join all the major housing organizations that believe we can build more affordable housing and build a more equitable California. And I need you to join the environmental activists, the equity and inclusion activists, the people who believe in my vision. I need you to help us win this race, to house all Californians, to build a better and stronger California. and I believe we're going to get there, but only with your help. Thank you all very much for having me. It's an honor to be with you.
Dr. Riddle, closing statement, 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Farr, for moderating today. And I do want to thank all the students here to put this on. This is amazing. You did a good job, and your questions were extremely good. I appreciate that. You know, I never thought that I would be running for office. I considered myself through most of my career as apolitical. Yes, I'm a strong Democrat, but I never shared any of my views with people. And when I told you when I first started, is I'm not the person that you would have said, oh, she will be assembly member one day, because of how I grew up, you know? They just weren't laid out that way. But now that I've had the opportunity to serve in so many different capacities, including working with the most vulnerable youth in the state of California who are in custody to rehabilitate and to help them with trauma-informed care, as well as to learn how to reacclimate to the community, I know that there's a path for everyone. It doesn't matter what you look like, what your background was. All you have to do is stick in there and continue to fight and push through and persevere. This is an opportunity for all of us to make a better California, but our district needs leadership, collaborative leadership. My thesis and dissertation were both in emotional intelligence leadership for the millennial generation and the Gen Zs, and how to collaborate. When you think about there's 79 other assembly members in the legislature, you must get 49 of them to be your best buddies to get anything done. No one can get anything done by themselves. It's a misnomer. You must collaborate. You must work with other people. You have to learn how to give and take. And I watched Mr. Holden. He had some great bills that we were dogmatic about. And guess what? We had to collaborate to get them to the Senate side where there's 40 senators, and to get 21 of them to agree with us to get to the governor's office and to the desk, and then to work on how to move legislation forward to get it signed. Assemblymember Holden, during my time with him, he brought $45 million to Pasadena City College to redo the Science Center. That's what I want to do for our district. Not only to tear it down, but to build it back, because since 2012, that science department has been closed because it's unsafe earthquake, for our earthquake, if we have an earthquake. That's what you bring to your communities. But you need to collaborate with people. You need to have a relationship with the governor's office. You need to understand your district. When I say I worked throughout this district working with people to bring solutions so that the assembly member could take it back to the state and ensure that bills got passed, that's what I did. And I want to do that as your next assembly member. Thank you.
Let's give our candidates another round of applause for being here this evening. And I think you should give yourselves a round of applause for being here this evening. I'm looking at our run of show, and I'm supposed to make some remarks and review, but I'm going to actually yield that, and I'll write about it in the LA Progressive, and you can read that as well as some of my other writings over there. I'm going to call up Michael Williams, who is the team coach for the Forensics and Debate team here at the college, and he'll make some remarks, and then we'll call up Professor Yu, and guess what, folks? We're almost out of here, so thank you for being here, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you.
First and foremost, I would like to thank James Farr, with Conversation Live, for helping put this event on, to getting the candidates here, and doing a lot of press work to get everybody into the building. I also want to give a special thank you to Jacqueline Yu, who did a lot of work securing this facility, helping the students get things together. This is her first year as director, and she's doing a tremendous job doing things that we've never done before here at this campus. And so I want to give a great welcome. Good thank you. So, you have heard what the candidates have had to say. You have heard their stances on very important issues. Now it is your time to get involved. It is your time to start asking yourself some questions. What do you value? What is important to you? And what world do you want to see in your future? That's what's at stake here. That's who you're voting for. And so I encourage you to do more research on the candidates, more research on their platforms, to not only go out and vote, but when you vote and after you vote, to remember the names and not forget the faces of these candidates, because it will be them who you should be looking for when it's time to hold them accountable to keeping the promises that they've made. I encourage you to get involved, get activated, and be an informed and aware voter here in the state of California, because there's a lot of things that we talked about today, a lot of issues that are going to confront us in our future. And we can only solve that if we all get involved and do our part to make this world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And we're going to call Professor Yu, and as she's going to wrap us up and close us out. And before we do that, we want to thank our media partners for coverage. Pasadena Now is here. Thank you, Eddie, for your diligent coverage here in the city and our community. Also, Mr. Lawrence Todd with the Pasadena Sports Hall of Fame is here with us. This is a community event, and I really want to acknowledge and thank the trustees and the administration here at PCC. I think in the last few weeks I've been on campus more than I've ever been in the last few years, and that's because Pasadena City College is breaking barriers. Their students are breaking barriers, and seeing the need to open up the campus to the community as a whole. This is a community college, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be a student to come learn. We don't have to necessarily be enrolled. And so it's opportunities like this that really ground the college in the community. And so we thank you, Professor Yu, for your trust, right? I mean, this is a big deal to open this up, and we're happy things didn't get out of hand and crazy and wild and no one stormed the candidates, right? So thank you so much for allowing us to be here, and thank you, candidates, for accepting the invitation. Professor Yu?
All right, well, that was amazing. So another round of applause for our candidates. Seriously, thank you so much. I feel extremely educated. I feel like all the topics that were curated were really wonderful. So thank you again to our team of students as well for curating those questions. And also, thank you so much for giving such detailed answers. I really hope these answers help you all decide who you want to vote for in this district. And no need to repeat Michael's amazing speech about the need to go advocate and vote and hold these candidates accountable for what they're saying we should do. But I really also want to go back to Michael. So Michael is currently one of our coaches for debate on the forensics team, and he is an incredible human being. He is one of the activists in Southern California, and he is always consistently educating us on our team about what we can do to do more. What can we do to use our voice? And he is the brainchild as well of being like, what if we do something like this? And helped us get all the students together to make this event happen. So I really want to give a round of applause for Michael. I also have a few other thank yous. Bear with me, it's a long list. Again, to the pre-law club and advisors, you guys can do like a one clap for each person. We'll work on it, The PCC forensics team. Nice, okay. Dean Solomon Cross. Maria Calvento, Guadalupe Lopez, Brianna Brody, Carrie Afuso, Alex Buckelhide, Zachary Graff, Vice President Laura Ramirez, James Farr, Honorary John Harabidian, Honorary Jed Liano, Dr. Falente Riddle, Conversation Live, Pasadena Now News, LA Progressive News, Colorado Boulevard News, KBLA 1580 channel, our friends and family, and PCC partners and communities. And also another shout out to also our Board of Trustees, Steve Gibson, for being here tonight. Thank you so much. And he was here earlier, but just snuck out. Our current interim superintendent president, Jose Gomez. Round of applause. He was right there. Yeah, right there. And again, just thank you everyone for coming to this event. And then also another shout out again for one of our team students' moms, April Berlardo, right there in the beautiful red. And thank you so much to all the press for being here today as well. I believe we have PCC Courier and also in addition, California Global News. So thank you so much to you two as well for being here.
Very nice.
So for those of you who are an elected official, our wonderful guest today, please stay behind for a group photo with all of our students, please. And if you are here as a student for extra credit, please hunt down me or Serena to get our signature for extra credit for your classes. And again, thank you all so much for coming to this event. This could not have been possible without all of you supporting our students, supporting our clubs and teams on campus to be effective and to show our students why they should be continuously motivated to be a part of this community. Get home safe, and thank you again.
Bravo.